Right friends, back we are. I've popped my editor's computer into the lake so it should have stopped overheating and we can back to work. You're welcome, Niall. Know how that works?
No, you absolute dumb fuck, you fucking numbskull. What the fuck do you think that was about?
Anyway, welcome back to the Creepypastas. If this is the first time you're stumbling upon the weird man with the box in his head walking around in the forest and you are a little concerned as to what is happening by now, hello, I'm Pyke, I do nature's marketing and I urge you to watch the first video. There's probably a card up there somewhere. Anyway, I looked back on the previous video and I thought a bit more about it and I realized that this story, the rise and the fall of creepypastas, is nothing different from a normal one. There's 3 stages to it. The savagery it starts with, then the ascendance, and then the fall, because of decadence. But we're not there yet. We covered the savagery in the last video. Small community, couple of stories spread out over multiple smaller sites. And then we got a small taste for the ascendance. And let's get right back to that. Where were we? Oh yeah. More popular, lots of kids, bullshit content. Which, by the way, is exactly what I'm planning to do with this channel, so follow please. Anyway, let's talk about that ton of content. Because a ton of content it was, my friend. There were stories, fanfictions about all of the characters being best friends. There were stories about all of the characters being lovers even. There were also a lot of lemons, which is what they call an erotic story, about Jeff the Killer using one of the tentacles of Slenderman as a floss thread. Before I can say anything, he pulled down my pants and his as well. Without any preparation, he slid into me, causing me to scream. He didn't even give me any time to adjust before moving. He slammed in and out of me repeatedly. Oh. Maybe I should have not brought that one up, it's a bit disgusting. There were also a lot of quizzes about which creepypasta you would be, which were fun, and I did one. This is how it went. Right, so here we have this creepypasta quiz by this man called Little Dead Boy. I'll say what I think, and I refuse to think at all. Let's go. So, everyone born between June and July is a Cancer, are they? Hey, Niall, you're a bastard. Fuck you, dude, you're a Cancer. Ha! If I have any mental illnesses, honey, I spent a solid day walking around the forest shouting about imaginary dick girls. What do you think? And I'm bloody Slenderman, am I? Do you know how much time I've spent in the gym just for you to call me bloody Slender? Fuck this quiz, man. I'm off. There was also Ask Me Anythings, where people would pretend to be one of the characters so you could ask them questions. And I really hope that all of the people that answered these questions were overage. We know the answer's probably gonna be yes. Have you ever had to blow the rape whistle? Oh yeah, before I forget, I also seem to remember a sort of copypasta about some guy who really wanted to fuck the monster from the Russian sleep experiment. And I reiterate that because that is what the joke at the beginning of the first video was about. So my editor, by splitting this video into 2 parts, now makes sure that nobody knows that. Well, who cares about going to college anyway? And one of the fun things about all this is that all of the content is very different from each other. You see, one of the great things about the creepypastas was that there wasn't really anything official about them. Sure, there was an origin story for some of them, and I reiterate, some of them. Slenderman basically only had a set of pictures. So, of course, he was quickly transformed into a care house owner by the internet, which is also where Billy went, by the way, if you remember the last video. You see, if Slenderman came across a regular bloke, like, say you, he would just murder you. Bada bing, bada boom, gone you were. But if you just so happened to be a murderous teenage serial killer with severe mental problems, he would recruit you. So he basically took the people he could earn a profit from keeping and killed the rest. Yes, my friends, indeed, Slenderman really became an allegory for the medical insurance instance. Isn't that mad? And if that wasn't goofy enough for you, let me introduce you to his 2 brothers. Trenderman, whom would kidnap you and give people makeovers, and Offenderman, whom would, well, you can bloody guess, can't you? And Slendy wasn't the only one that got a little stray from the original intent by the character. Jeff and Jane both became his proxies, which is what they called his henchmen, so they basically became co-workers. And all that, while the whole story of Jane the Killer was wanting to put Jeff the Killer on the other side of the grass because he murdered her parents. And then, if that wasn't weird enough for you, take Lou, who is the brother of Jeff and, just for the record, so y'all got it straight, got murdered by Jeff at the end of the original story. But he only managed to stay dead about 60% of the time. The rest of the time he came back as homicidal Lou. And he wanted to murder Jeffy Boy for trying to kill him earlier, which I guess is logical. But that wasn't always the case either. If he wasn't dead or trying to kill Jeff, sometimes he was right along with Jane and Jeff and the others trying to kill people for Slenderman. I can just imagine how that story went. Oi, Jeffy boy, remember when you tried to murder me? No, mate, me neither. Want to go to the house of a weird white alien with a tie with me? Yeah, boss, class blood. Let's see. What else? Ben Drown turned from a cursed video game cartridge into a twink. I can't think of anything else from the top of my head, but trust me, it became weird. But I guess I will go into that whole mansion lore another time. I don't have the time for it now. Concerned Housefather Slenderman is all we need to know for now. And even that is a bit questionable, because all of it, surprise surprise, was only the case sometimes. Character traits, relationships, rivalries, they all got thrown around more than STDs on a yard party at a Cannes festival. Is that how you pronounce that? No. Mostly because there wasn't really much of guidance of what the characters were like in the original stories. Because, let's be honest, what do we know about the character of Jeff the Killer from the original storyline? He won't let people steal his money, so he's not too much of a coward. He doesn't like going to parties from children who are a lot younger than him. He doesn't have any talents when it comes to plastic surgery. So when you put him in a new environment, everybody could kind of make up how they wanted him to behave. And because there were so many people writing fanfiction and creating stories about all of them, and so many different things for them to experience, they splintered off, and since nothing was canon, everything and nothing was used to make the stories, and anything and nothing became the backstory of the characters, and at some point it just became incredibly confusing. Let me paint you two scenarios and see if you understand what I mean. Oi, bossman, I've been hearing a lot about this creepypasta called Jeff the Killer every now and then. What's he all about? Oh, he's an idiot that got into a fight and then tried to deep-pore cleanse himself with bleach. What a mom. Okay, now scenario 2. Again, you tell me which one's more inviting to a new audience. Oi, bossman, I've been hearing a lot about this creepypasta called Jeff the Killer. What's he all about? Oh, ain't I glad you asked. He's a killer that burned out his own eyelids and bleached his own face. Now he works as a proxy for Slenderman sometimes. Sometimes? Is he a part-timer? No, in some stories he tries to murder him. Right. A bit confusing, but glad we got it out of the way. Not confused yet, are you? Well, then here we go. Jane the Killer. His girlfriend, I guess? Don't you ever say anything like that to me again, you piece of subhuman filth. So, no? Most of the time, no. What do you mean, most of the time? Well, most of the time they try to kill each other, but sometimes they are lovers or co-workers. Co-workers? As serial killers? Okay, you know what? I guess I can work with it. Sure, fuck it. Not confused yet, are you? Then here we go. I think I'm just gonna check out Friday the 13th. Thank you. You get what I'm saying? At some point, it just became way too bloated and way too weird to reasonably get into. And this all was only the first problem. The second problem was, because of all this content, most of the creepypastas just stopped being scary. And if the creepypastas weren't scary anymore, the hook of why people got so into creepypastas was basically off. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people can't be scary or can't be dangerous even after you've seen them have sex. I personally once got chased down and battered into next week by two gay porn stars after I stumbled upon them. They were filming a 4-scene video and I thought it would be a very fun idea to exchange their lube for cornstarch. And now I am fucking terrified of the two of them. Too much info. Okay, anyway, after I saw Jane the Killer get absolutely ran through by a set of purple tentacles, I couldn't get that image out of my head while reading the origin story anymore. And let me tell you, it kills any suspense that might have been there. Also, I flat out refuse to be scared of Slenderman after I read all the fanfiction of him being an attentive father to Jeff the Killer and his goon squad. No, not like that, you dirty cretin. I will always stay scared of a Fenderman though. No matter how many times the writer has told me he's an allegory for rape culture. I also can't properly be scared of Eyeless Jack anymore now that he got transformed into some kind of e-boy with body dysmorphia because the other eyeless beings are leaner than him. And in the case of Jeff the Killer, let's be honest, there was already very little to be scared of, but the community made sure to destroy whatever was left as well. Gone was the creepy psychopath. No, now there was the town bicycle, who was in a relationship with every character under the sun, and a lot of the characters that weren't under the sun to boot. I'm sorry, but I just can't. I can't stomach the fact that I am less successful with the ladies than someone whose makeup routine consists of flambeing his eyelids. Do you know how much time and makeup I spent to make the edges of my cardboard box look this shiny? Whoa. Excuse the outburst. I just sat through 4 hours of Slenderman x Jeff the Killer fanfiction. I hope you understand. It's funny, isn't it? Talking shit about all of this while looking back on it. And granted, A lot of content here is very, very bad. But this was also something for which the authors will always have a little respect for me, because it was just fucking around at the end of the day. You see, I represent nature, and when we boil it down, fucking around and finding out is how evolution has always gone. What works will reproduce, and what doesn't will die. It might seem cruel, but it is the best way to make sure the next generation lives in as much comfort as we can give them. I bring that up because this is also kind of what the writers were doing. And while it became decadence after a while, and because of that the Slender Mansion fandom is now a shadow of its former self, it did also spawn heaps of new creative ways for the use of internet horror. It had to, basically, with all of the different minds that thought about them for that long. Nowadays, for example, we have the ARGs, which are scary stories which are made to look like an actual webpage out of the world in which they take place. Vita Carnus is a very good one. Local 48 is a YouTube channel, which also works. And the basis of this was basically from creepypastas, where games about the creepypastas had been taking on a similar kind of premise. So, yes, creepypastas aren't as prevalent anymore. They had their time, but most people have now moved on to newer things. So now most of the stories which made up the creepypasta fandom are now things you look back on with your friends and cringe on that you once have made them. But don't forget, they've played an irreplaceable part in the evolution of online horror. And I, for one, think that's pretty bloody great. Have a wonderful day.